Today we're going to be doing calculations with common fractions. This is a section that you should already know how to do. We're just going to briefly run through the different kinds of calculations that we can do with common fractions and then putting them together in mixed operations, just to remind you about how to do it. Okay, the first thing you need to remember when you're doing calculations with common fractions is that the very first step should always be, if there are any mixed numbers, you need to convert them to improper fractions. It's going to make your life a lot easier when you're doing the actual calculations if you're working with improper fractions instead of mixed numbers. Okay, now if we are working with adding and subtracting common fractions, the first thing you need to do for the addition and the subtraction is you need to make sure that you've got the same denominator for all fractions. So you need to change all of the fractions so that they have the same denominator, which would be the LCD, or the lowest common denominator. Then once you have found the lowest common denominator and you've changed all the fractions so that they have that same LCD, the next thing you need to do is you need to add and subtract the numerators while keeping the denominator the same. So you only are going to be adding and subtracting the numerators, and the denominator is going to stay that LCD. Then once you've done that, you then are going to simplify the fraction as far as possible if it can be simplified. Okay, so let's have a look at an example where we're going to be adding and subtracting fractions. So in this example over here, we have got 3½ plus 1⅓ minus 3 1/6. Okay, so let's have a look at how we would do this question. So in this question, the first thing we're going to do is convert everything to improper fractions. So 3½ when I convert to improper fraction, I multiply the big number, the whole number, by the denominator, so that gives me 6, and then I add the numerator, and that's going to give me my new numerator. So it's 6 plus 1 is 7. So it's going to be 7 over, the denominator stays the same, and that is 2. So it's 7 over 2. Then I've got plus, then I do the same thing with the next fraction. So 1 times 3 is 3 plus 1, and that gives me 4. So it's 4 over 3, and then minus, then 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19. So that's going to be 19 over 6. So that's what I have once I've changed everything to improper fractions. My next step is to go and find the LCD. So the LCD is the lowest number that all of the denominators can divide into. So if my denominators are 2, 3, and 6, the lowest number that they all go into is 6. So I'm going to change all of these fractions to have that same denominator of 6. So this is going to be over 6. And when I change that to something over 6, I multiply by 3. So I multiply the top by 3 as well. That gives me 21 over 6. So now I've got 21 over 6 plus the next fraction. I need to multiply the denominator by 2 to get 6. So that's going to be over 6. But I'm going to multiply the numerator by 2 as well. And that gives me 8. Remember, when you're working with common fractions, whatever you do to the top of the fraction or the numerator, you have to do the same thing to the denominator. Okay, so then minus. And this one is already over 6, so it's not going to change. So it's going to stay 19 over 6. So now that I've got the same denominators for all of the fractions, my next step is to add and subtract the numerators. So I've got 21 plus 8 minus 19 all over 6. Okay, so now what I'm going to have is something over 6. Remember, we said the denominator stays the same. We're going to add and subtract the numerator. So I have 21 plus 8, that gives me 29. Minus 19, that gives me 10. So now I have 10 over 6, and now I need to go and simplify that as far as possible. So when I simplify that, they both are divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide the top by 2, that gives me 5. And I divide the bottom by 2, and that gives me 3. So my final answer for this question is 5 over 3. So when we're doing adding and subtracting of common fractions, if they are mixed numbers, the first thing we do is convert those to improper fractions. Then once we've done that, we're going to follow the steps for adding and subtracting fractions. So we're going to find the LCD and change all of the fractions so they have that same LCD. Then you add and subtract the numerators and keep the denominator the same. So that 6 didn't change. Okay, and then once I've done that, I then go and simplify as far as possible. Okay, now let's go on to multiplying and dividing common fractions. So when you're multiplying and dividing common fractions, you need to, if it's division, tip and times. Remember, if you have division, then you're going to change the divide sign to a multiplication sign, and the fraction that is directly after that, what was a divide sign, is going to flip over and you're going to invert it. So you tip and times. Okay, then Once you've done that, you simplify by cancelling the common factors in any numerator and any denominator. You can cancel anything that's at the top with anything that's at the bottom. You cannot cancel top and top, you cannot cancel bottom and bottom, but you can cancel any top and any bottom so long as they have common factors. Okay, then once you've done that, you multiply the numerators together and you also multiply the denominators together. And then you also can still check then if you can simplify any further, just in case you missed anything that could be cancelled. Okay, so let's have a look at an example for this one as well. So in this question, we've got 24 over 18 divided by 15 over 9 times 10 over 12. So let's go and see how we would do this question. So remember, the first thing we're going to do when you have division, you're going to tip and times. So the only thing that's going to change is the divide sign and the fraction that is directly after that divide sign. Everything else is going to stay as it is. So the 24 over 18 doesn't change. The divide is going to change to a multiplication sign at times, and the 15 over 9 is going to invert. We're going to tip it over, it becomes 9 over 15. And then this over here doesn't change because it is a because it's multiplication. So we've got times 10 over 12 still. Okay, so once we have sorted out our division, now we can go on to the multiplication, which involves our cancelling out and everything. Okay, so let's have a look and see what all we can cancel. Remember, we can cancel anything that's at the top with anything that's at the bottom of any of the fractions, so long as they are all being multiplied together. Okay, so over here, let's see what is common. So I've got a 9 over here, and I've got 18. 9 goes into 9 once, 9 goes into 18 twice. Okay, over here, I've got 15 and 10. 5 goes into 15 3 times, 5 goes into 10 twice. So remember, we're cancelling common factors. Okay, so over here I've got 24 and 12. 12 goes into 12 once, and 12 goes into 24 twice. Then over here I've got a 2 and a 2. So once I've cancelled, I can still carry on cancelling there. So 2 goes in there once, and 2 goes in there once as well. And then I can't do anything with that 2 and with that 3. There's nothing else that I can cancel, so I've cancelled as much as I can. So now, once I've finished cancelling out everything that I can, now I'm going to multiply all my numerators together and multiply all my denominators together. Whatever is left in the numerator, whatever is left in the denominator. So I've got over here 1 times 2 gives me 2. Over. And then 1 times 3 times 1 gives me 3. So what I end up with over here is 2 over 3. And then you can check, just in case you missed anything when you're doing the cancelling, if you can simplify any further. In this case, we can't, so we are done with this question. Okay, so that is multiplying and dividing fractions. Now let's go on to squares, cubes, and roots of common fractions. Okay, so now just remember, when you're doing squares, cubes, and roots of common fractions, that you need to apply that root or the power to both the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so if you have a fraction in brackets and it's squared, then you're going to square the numerator and you're going to square the denominator. If you have a fraction in brackets that is cubed, then you're going to cube the numerator and you're going to cube the denominator. Please be aware it only applies if it is in brackets. If you have the numerator being squared or the denominator being squared and there are no brackets involved, then you only apply the power to the numerator or the denominator, whichever one is being raised to that power. But when you've got it in brackets, or when you've got a square root sign where the whole fraction is under that square root sign, then you will also do it to both the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so now let's have a look at a quick example where we're going to be doing this. So in this question, we've got 1 2/3 being squared. Okay, so let's have a look at what we would do for this one. So the very first thing we need to do here is we need to convert this 1 2/3 into an improper fraction. We can't work with it as a mixed fraction. So I'm going to change that by multiplying the 1 by 3 and then adding the 2, and that gives me 5 over 3. So I've got 5 over 3, and that is being squared. Okay, so now once I've done that, I then need to apply the rule that we've got, that when we're squaring a fraction, we must square the numerator and the denominator. So when I work this one out, I'm going to get 5 squared, which is 25, over 3 squared, which is 9. So that's what you should get for that one. So you square the top and you square the bottom. Okay, right. Now let's go on to mixed operations with common fractions. When you're doing mixed operations with common fractions, you need to use BEDMAS. Okay, now remember, BEDMAS stands for brackets, then exponents, then division and multiplication, and then addition and subtraction. Okay, so we're going to be using BEDMAS when we do our mixed operations with common fractions. Also remember what we learned, that when you're using BEDMAS, you also can apply it within the terms. So you can do each term separately using BEDMAS within the terms, and that'll help you to do it more quickly as well. Okay, so let's go through an example using BEDMAS to simplify an expression that has multiple or mixed operations. Okay, so here we've got the question 3/4 plus 2/5 times 5/6 in brackets divided by 3 2/8 minus a half squared. Okay, so let's have a look at how we would do this question. So first of all, let's just have a look at where our terms are in this question. Now remember, terms are separated by pluses and minuses. So the first term is this over here, and the second term is that over there. So I'm going to be applying BEDMAS within each term separately. Okay, so let's have a look over here at our first term, at what all is involved. So in the first term, I've got brackets, and inside the brackets, I've got multiplication and I've got addition. So the multiplication is going to have to happen first, then the addition inside the brackets to simplify what's in the brackets, and then I'm going to have to do this division. But before I do that, I want to change this to an improper fraction. Okay, then in the second term, I've got a fraction squared, which I can simplify as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort out this over here, and at the same time as doing that, I can also do the multiplication over here because they don't interfere with each other in any way. And I can also do this in this term because it's a separate term, so it's also not interfering with each other. So in this term over here, I'm going to be sorting out this multiplication inside the brackets. So that gives me 3/4. This isn't changing because I'm not doing anything with it yet. Plus, then over here, I'm going to go and simplify. So I can say 5 goes in there once and 5 goes in there once. Okay, and then 2 goes in there once and 2 goes in there 3 times. So that leaves me with 1 times 1, which is 1, over 1 times 3, which is 3. Okay, so now I've simplified that. And then I'm also going to go and change this to an improper fraction. So 3 and 2/8, if I multiply the 3 by the 8, it gives me 24. And then I add the 2 and it gives me 26. So that's 26/8. And then I've got minus. Now this is the second term over here. Now I'm going to square this half over here. So that's going to be 1 squared, which is 1, over 2 squared, which is 4. Remember, we square the top and the bottom, but when you square 1, it doesn't actually make any difference. So that's why it didn't look like anything happened to the 1. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next step. So now let's have a look again at our terms. So the first term over here, I still have more that I need to do. The second term is done. I can't simplify that anymore, so I'm going to have to wait until I get to the very last part, which is going to be the addition and subtraction of the fractions. Okay, but over here, I can now go and do my addition inside my brackets. So in order to do that, I need to change them to have the same denominator. So if I look at the denominators 4 and 3, the lowest number that both of those can go into, the lowest common multiple, or because they're denominators, the lowest common denominator is going to be 12. So it's going to be over 12 and over 12. So I've got something over 12 and something over 12. This I need to multiply by 3 to get 12. So I multiply the top by 3, and that gives me 9/12. Plus, the 3 over here needs to multiply by 4. So I need to multiply the top by 4, and that gives me 4/12. Okay, so now I'm going to, over here, have divide, and then 26/8, and then minus 1/4. Now, I could actually already have tipped and times here, because again, this is not interfering with that in any way. Okay, but I can do it in the next step, and it's fine. Right, so now I've got 9/12 plus 4/12. Now they've got the same denominator, now I can add them. So 9 plus 4 is 13. So that's 13/12. And now I'm going to tip and times over here so that I'll be able to do my multiplication in the next step. So times 8/26, because I need to invert it. And then this minus 1/4 is still staying the same. Nothing's happening to that. Now over here, I'm going to be simplifying my multiplication. Remember, multiplication comes before the subtraction over here. So over here in this term, I still need to do that before I can simplify that. Over here, I also had that term and the second term over there. So here, the 13 and the 26, I can simplify. 13 goes in there once, 13 goes in there twice, and the 12 and the 8, 4 goes in there 3 times, and 4 goes in there twice. So now we can go and simplify also these 2's over here. 2 goes in there once, and 2 goes in there once. So I'm left from all of this with 1 at the top, 1 times 1 is 1, over 3 times 1, which is 3, minus 1 over 4. Now I just have the subtraction to simplify. So now I can go and find my LCD. Again, my denominators are 3 and 4, so my LCD is going to be 12. So I've got something over 12 minus something over 12. I need to multiply this by 4, so I multiply the top by 4, and that gives me 4 over 12, minus, I multiply this by 3, so I multiply the top by 3, and that gives me 3 over 12. So I've got 4 over 12 minus 3 over 12, which when I simplify the 4 minus 3, that gives me 1, and the 12 stays the same. And I can't simplify that any further, so I'm done with that question. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a few that you're going to work on for yourself. Here's the first one that you're going to do. We've got 7 over 15 plus 3 over 7 times 7 over 9 minus 4 over 5 divided by 2 over 3. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this question. Okay, so let's go through that question and see what you should have got. So in this question, first let's go and see where our terms are. So the first term is just the 7 over 15 up to where that plus is, because remember, the pluses and the minuses separate the terms. So the next term is from this plus up to there, and the next term is from the minus to the end. Okay, so the first term, we can't do anything with that because it's just one fraction. Okay, so we're going to leave that as it is until we get to the addition and subtraction right at the end. So that's going to stay 7 over 15. In this term over here, I need to do the multiplication. So I'm going to go and see what I can cancel out. So the 7s I can cancel. 7 goes in there once, 7 goes in there once. And the 3 and the 9 I can also cancel. 3 goes in there once and 3 goes in there 3 times. So for this term, I am left with its plus because it's a positive times a positive. 1 times 1 is 1. over 1 times 3, which is 3. So that's the second term done. Now let's go on to the third term. Now in this term, I can't simplify anything yet, except I need to do the tipping and timesing because I've got a division here. So it's minus. The 4 over 5 is going to stay as it is for now, and I'm going to change that to a times and tip that over. So it's going to be 3 over 2. Okay, now we can go and simplify that. So the first term over here is done, or I didn't need to do anything. The second term is now done, and this term I now need to go and simplify my multiplication. So let's see what we can cancel out here. The 2 goes in there once and 2 goes in there twice. I can't simplify anything else, so that's already cancelled out there. Okay, so now we can go and see what we are left with. So for the first term, that stays as it is, 7 over 15. The second term stays plus 1 over 3. And now I've got a negative times a positive is minus, and then 2 times 3 is 6 over 5 times 1, which is 5. Okay, so now we're left with 7 over 15 plus a third minus 6 over 5. So now we're going to go and do our addition and subtraction, we need to find our LCD. So the LCD for 15, 3, and 5 is going to be 15. So I'm going to have something over 15, something over 15, and something over 15. Now this one is already over 15, so it's not going to change. Then I've got plus. This one, I need to multiply the 3 by 5, so I'm going to multiply the top by 5, and that gives me 5 over 15, minus. Then here I need to multiply the 5 by 3, so I'm going to multiply the top by 3, and that gives me 18. So I've got 7 plus 5 minus 18 all over 15. Okay, so 7 plus 5 is 12, minus 18 is going to be negative 6. So I've got negative 6 over 15. Now this I can simplify because 3 goes into 6 twice, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So that gives me negative 2 over 5. And that's what you should have got for question A. Okay, so now let's go on to question B. In question B, we have in brackets 1 over 6 minus 4 over 9 times, in new brackets, 3 over 5 plus 3 over 10, and then divided by 5 over 12. I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that question and see what you should have got. So first of all, for this question, if you look at the terms, you'll see that this is actually all one term because there are no pluses or minuses that aren't inside brackets. Okay, so it's all one term. But inside the brackets, I have stuff that I need to do first before I can get onto my multiplication and division outside the brackets. So let's have a look inside the brackets over here. I need to do some subtraction, and inside these brackets I need to do addition. Because I have this two sets of brackets, I can work in both sets in the same step simultaneously. So over here I'm going to start off with this set of brackets over here. I'm going to do the subtraction in the set of brackets. So first I need to find my LCD. So my denominators here are 6 and 9. The LCD there is going to be 18. So I'm going to have 18 and 18 as my denominators for these two fractions. So over here I've got 1 over 6. I need to multiply the 6 by 3 to get 18. So I need to multiply the top by 3, and that gives me 3 over 18 minus, and over here I multiply the 9 by 2. So I need to multiply the 4 by 2, and that gives me 8. And all of that is still in brackets. Okay, now let's go on over here to the next set of brackets. I'm also going to be finding an LCD over here because I'm going to be doing adding of fractions over here. So I've got 5 and 10. My LCD for 5 and 10 is going to be 10. So this is going to be something over 10. So if I simplify, or if I change this to something over 10, I multiply that by 2. So I'm going to multiply this by 2 as well, and that gives me 6 over 10. Plus, this is already over 10, so it stays as it is. And then I've got divide by 5 over 12, which I could change to times 12 over 5 now already, because it doesn't affect anything else. Okay. Now over here, I'm going to go and simplify what I've got. So I've got 3 minus 8. I simplify my numerators. I subtract them, 3 minus 8. That gives me negative 5 over 18. And then times, over here, I'm going to simplify the 6 and the 3. 6 plus 3 is 9 over 10. And then I'm going to tip and times this now so that I'm ready to do my multiplication in the next step. So times the 12, 5 over 12 changes to 12 over 5. Okay, now I can go and do my multiplication. So I'm going to go and see what I can cancel out. So over here I've got 5 goes into 10. 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 10 twice. Okay, then over here 9 goes into 9 once, 9 goes into 18 twice. Then 2 goes into 12, or 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 12 6 times. And then this 2 goes into 2 once, and into that 6 3 times. So that leaves me with 1 times 3 in the numerator, and 1 times 5 in the denominator. And I've got a negative over here, so it's all going to be negative, because a negative times a positive is negative. So I've got negative 3 over 5. And that's what you should get for question B. Okay, now let's go on to question C. In question C, we've got 24 over 6 times, in brackets, 5 over 6 minus a quarter, minus, in brackets, 1.5 squared. I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that question. So in this question, you have 24 over 6 times, in brackets, 5 minus 6, 5 over 6 minus a quarter, and then minus 1.5 squared. So our first term is all of this up to there, up to the end of the first set of brackets, and the second term is the minus 1.5 squared. Okay, so in the first term, what I need to do is I need to first simplify the subtraction in the brackets here, and then I'm going to be doing my multiplication. In the second term, I need to change this to an improper fraction, and then I need to square it. Okay, so let's have a look at that first step for each of those two terms. So in the first step over here, I'm going to be doing the subtraction. So the 24 over 6 isn't going to change. Times. Over here, 5 over 6 minus 1 over 4, I need to find my LCD. So the LCD for 6 and 4 is going to be 12. So I have 12 and 12. I need to multiply the 6 by 2, so I times the top by 2, and that gives me 10. So I have 10 over 12 minus, I multiply the 4 by 3, so I need to times the top by 3, and that gives me 1 times 3, which is 3. So I've got, in brackets, 10 over 12 minus 3 over 12. And then over here, I'm going to have minus, and now I'm going to go and change this to an improper fraction. So 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So that gives me 3 over 2, which I need to square in my next step. Okay, so now I've done the first step for this term, which was first changing that to have the same denominators. Now I can go and do my subtraction. So in this step, I've got 24 over 6 times, then over here, 10 minus 3 is 7 over 12. Okay, so now I've done the subtraction in that term. Now let's quickly do the squaring in this term over here. I've got 3 over 2, which I'm squaring, and that gives me 9 over 4. Okay, so now let's go and see. So this was the first term over here. This was the second term over here. Now let's have a look. In the first term over here, I still have multiplication to do. In the second term, it's as simple as it can get. I can't do anything else with that for now. So when I get to my subtraction later, then I will be able to, but now I can't do anything with that term. Okay, so now let's go and simplify this term by seeing what we can cancel out. So the 12, I can cancel with the 24. 12 goes in there once, 12 goes in there twice. Then over here, I've got 2 and 6 that I can simplify. 2 goes in there once, 2 goes in there 3 times. I can't simplify anything else, so now I'm left with my first term with 1 times 7 over 3 times 1. Okay, so now that's the first term simplified, minus the second term isn't changing, and now I can go and do my subtraction. First thing I need to do for my subtraction is I need to find the LCD again. So 3 and 4 have an LCD of 12. So I've got something over 12 minus something over 12. Okay, so I need to multiply the 3 by 4 to get 12. I'm going to times 7 by 4 as well, and that gives me 28. Minus, I'm going to multiply the 4 by 3 to get 12. So I multiply the 9 by 3 as well, and that gives me 27. So I have 28 minus 27, and that gives me 1 over 12. So that's what you should have got for question C. And now we're going to go on to the last question for today. Question D, we've got 2/5 in brackets squared minus, in brackets, 3 over 5 times 4 over 9 plus 5 over 6, and then divided by 11 over 4. I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this question as well. Okay, so let's go through that question and see what you should have got. So for this question, first let's see where our terms are. So the first term is just the 2/5 squared. And the second term is from the minus all the way to the end of the question. So this is all one term over here. So let's see what we need to do in each term. So for the first term, I just have to square that fraction. In the second term, there's a lot more going on. I've got multiplication and addition inside the brackets. And then I also have division outside the brackets over here as well. Okay, so let's see what we need to do. So in this first term, I'm going to go and simplify that squaring. Remember, when we square a fraction, we need to square the top and the bottom. So I square the top, so it's 2 squared, which is 4, over, if I square the bottom, 5 squared is 25. And then minus. Now, over here, the first thing I have to do inside the brackets is the multiplication. So I'm going to see what I can simplify there. So the 3 and the 9 can cancel. The 3 goes in there once, the 3 goes in there 3 times. I can't simplify anything else there. So I'm now going to go and multiply my numerators and my denominators together. So I've got over here, 1 times 4 is 4 in my numerator, and 5 times 3 is 15 in my denominator. Plus 5/6 is going to stay as it is for now. And then over here, I'm going to be dividing by 11/4. Now, I can tip and times now already because it's not actually going to affect anything else. It doesn't impact on that. It's just going to help me to get ready for doing my timesing later on. So I'm going to tip and times, and that gives me 4/11. Okay, now I'm going to go and simplify the addition inside the brackets over here. I don't need to do anything else for this term over here. It is simplified as far as possible, but this term, there's still a fair amount to do. Okay, so this is going to stay as it is, 4/25, but this term, I still have the addition inside here that I need to do. In order to do that addition, I need to find my LCD. So the LCD for 15 and 6 is going to be 30. So I'm going to have something over 30 plus something over 30. So I've got over here, I need to multiply the 15 by 2. So it's going to be 8/30 because I need to multiply the top by 2 as well. And here I need to multiply that 6 by 5. So I need to multiply the 5 by 5 as well, giving me 25/30. So I've got in brackets 8/30 plus 25/30. And then that is being multiplied by 4/11 because I already did my tipping and timesing. Okay, so now I can go and finish the addition inside the brackets over here by adding my numerators and keeping the denominator the same. So I've got 4/25 minus 8 plus 25 is 33/30 times 4/11. Okay, so now we can go and finish simplifying this term over here. So remember, this term over there, we didn't need to do anything else over there, but that we had to still do. And over here, we still don't need to do anything, but this one, we still have to do our multiplication. Okay, so now I've got 4/25. Then a negative times a positive is negative, so it's still minus. Then I can simplify over here. 33 and 11 are both divisible by 11. 11 goes in there 3 times, 11 goes in there once. 3 goes into the 30 also, so 3 goes in there once and 3 goes in there 10 times. And then I can still simplify my 10 and my 4. 2 goes into 4 twice and 2 goes into 10 5 times. So over here, in my numerator, I'm left with 1 times 2, which is 2 over 5 times 1, which is 5. So now I end up with 4/25 minus 2/5. So now I need to go and do that subtraction. But in order to do the subtraction, I need to find my LCD. So for 25 and 5, my LCD is going to be 25. So that's going to be 4/25. It's already over 25, so it doesn't change. Minus, this is going to be over 25. So let's see what we need to do. I need to multiply that by 5. So I times the top by 5 as well, and that gives me 10. So I have 4/25 minus 10/25. So now I'm going to simplify that. I keep the denominator the same, but I subtract the numerators. So 4 minus 10 gives me -6. So I have -6/25. Now this can't be simplified, so that is as far as we can go. And that is how we do calculations with common fractions. Now that we've learned the concepts in this lesson, it's important to practice, practice, practice. If you haven't already got the worksheet that goes with this video, you can find it by clicking on the link in the description below. The worksheet comes with an extra exercise full of questions for you to work on to master the concepts covered in this lesson. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button so that others can benefit from it too. Also, be sure to subscribe so that you can easily find my other lessons, and hit the bell so that you will get notified about lessons as I upload them.